Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Claflin Athletic Show. This is your host, Mickey Clayton, the coach. And this weekly show tries to give you an inside look in terms of what's going on in Claflin Athletics and the university and some of the many positive things that are going on with the student athletes, the staff, and all those people and programs at Claflin, especially with homecoming coming. But I have a guest with you today. She was on last year, and she has learned and accomplished a lot in the time since we saw her last. I want to welcome to the Claflin Athletic Show, Ms.Ashley Fields. Welcome again, Ashley.
Thank you, sir. How you doing?
I'm always doing good. The question is, how are you doing? That's always the question.
Seems like I got the same response. I'm always doing good as well.
Well, since I saw you last, I know you've gotten even more settled. Tell people who you are and some of the things that you are responsible for with the load of responsibilities that you have within the Claflin Athletic Department.
Okay, well, my name is Ashley Fields. I'm the strength and conditioning coach, head strength and conditioning coach here at Claflin. My responsibilities are very simple. You know, I'm here preseason, postseason, in season to make sure all our athletes are getting stronger, faster, learning their bodies, things like that. So my job pretty much never stops between all the teams. Right now we have women's basketball, men's basketball. They're going into in season, so they just finished up their preseason workouts. We went right into in season workouts. And volleyball will be when school in the spring. They'll be coming back and they'll be doing postseason with me as well. Softball just finished up their fall season, so they're going home and they're going to have a whole workout for the next month, 45 days, I believe. Where they're going to work, and when we come back in, they're going to be right into in-season workouts. So it's pretty intense, pretty straightforward. A lot of work. We're getting a lot of work in, so that's a good thing about it.
Okay, I want to back up, and I'll need you to re-emphasize something again. Tell us what your title is again.
So I'm the head strength and conditioning coach.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to that title and all the sports that she is over, there are not many women in America that had the men and women's strength and conditioning program. So you're in rarefied air over there in Panther Country.
Absolutely.
What does that mean to you to have that type of responsibility?
It's just about growth. You know, I love what I do. I love to get better each and every day. I love to see the athletes get better. I love to see them compete. So it's, to me, it's just my calling. It's not really a challenge, or I really haven't really thought about it like you just said. It's not many women doing what I'm doing, but to me, it just came natural and it just feels right. So I never really stopped and thought like I'm in the slim few that's doing what I'm doing.
Very few. You're in rarefied air. A lot of people got to have oxygen masks to be able to exist in the world that you exist in. Tell us, I'm gonna make you think about it some more. We'll take two similar sports, well, exactly the same, men's basketball and women's basketball. What are some of the major differences that you do in terms of the men's basketball team and their strength and conditioning and the women's basketball team and their strength and conditioning, especially considering you yourself were a star basketball player? So tell us a little bit about that.
So it's the only difference between men and women is the strength. That's it. Men push more weight. They do pretty much just very similar workouts. Like if I have a couple players that can't do a full range of motion, then I'll improvise or I'll do things different for them. But across the board, our women are doing the same workouts our men are doing, just less weight, same rep count, less weight. And I don't stop them if they're able to push the weight like a man. Sometimes I get on the men like, the girl's doing 5 pounds under you. Like we have to ramp it up, But most importantly to me is the technique. I just want to make sure they have the correct technique. I'm not really too concerned about them pushing heavy weight, even though that's what I have a lot with the men. Like they have to push the big weight, and it be sometimes I have to remind them like your technique is more important than you pushing 45s on each side. But that's the main difference is the weight. That's all.
Okay. Sometimes you had the men with that ego and they want to get
Yeah,
heavier
absolutely,
weight.
absolutely.
How important is the heavy weight? Well, let me rephrase this better. In season, back in those days, basketball players, we didn't want to lift during the season.
Mhm.
And until we found out people like Michael Jordan would lift even game day. And once we figured that Michael could lift game day, as coaches, we started to emphasize our guys lifting through the season as well. What are some of the differences in your weight training program overall once the season is in, as opposed to postseason and preseason? I think people need to understand there's different levels to what you do with them.
Correct. So in season is more maintained lifts. I still give them a power, one or two power or strength based training. So we do like a deadlift as our power exercise or our strength exercise. And then everything else is like corrective exercises. We're working a lot of flexibility. We're doing a lot of hip flexors here. Just things I see our athletes are lacking in or have less mobility in. So in season is a little bit slower. Postseason, this year I'm very interested to see how we do this postseason because I'm gonna have men and women's basketball and I'm changing up the whole dynamics. So we're gonna do a lot of speed training before they leave, a lot of agility, and a lot of strength training. So this preseason we did a lot of strength training. Just want to make sure everybody came in and was able to be at the standard of playing 40 minutes a game. That's the minimum for me, as far as conditioning, as far as strength training. Try to limit the premeditated fatigue that happens in the fourth quarter and things like that. So right now in season, they're liking it a little bit better because it's not so demanding on the body.
Okay. During the in season, do you lift as often? About how many times a week do you lift?
So we went from 3 to 2, and then I give them a yoga day where we do just nothing but yoga, flexibility. They always say yoga's supposed to be. They think yoga's supposed to be just so relaxing, but I in tuned it with mobility and flexibility, where they get a little bit of strength training, mobility, yoga, uh, whatever they need. So it's a little intense, but it's not too demanding on the body.
Okay, okay. You said something about doing yoga. Do you do as part of your conditioning any aerobics or exercises like that?
So I do it for those days where, like, athletes come in and it's just one of those funky days where they've been working really hard. Now let's decompress, let's stimulate your mind, and let's get in tune with your body. So those days are fun when they actually stay locked in. Like I tell them all the time, yoga is very difficult when you don't do it or don't practice it a lot because a lot of people can't sit still for 10 minutes and not have nothing run on their mind. So I'm trying to get them to sit still for 2 minutes in a position that is probably tight or probably giving them some type of discomfort. So it's about releasing in those areas. And I don't get too like coachy on them about locking in on that because I understand. Like with yoga, you might lock in for 3 to 15 seconds and then your mind start wandering. So it's a practice thing. So I think the more we do it, the more we get better, and our athletes will be able to understand and release tension and be able to just be at still, um, without us being in yoga before a game, learning how to just stimulate their mind and lock all the way in and in tune with their self before a game and things like that. That's the ultimate goal, for them to be able to calm their self down before a game.
What you gave me was an excellent response, because my next question to you was going to be, what was the advantage in doing yoga, but the relaxing of the mind and at peace, calming themselves down, kind of answered it. And is this not something that they can use as they go about their everyday school life and personal life as well?
Oh, absolutely. I get on them about just taking a second before you wake up and put your feet on the ground. Of course, praise who you praise in the morning, and then just try to lay in your bed without looking at your phone, without looking at anything, and just let your mind just be present in the moment. That's the first practice that I gave them. Of course, some of them do, some of them don't. But then next we went on to like just understanding how to release tension in certain areas of your body. So that's the main focus, and I want to see it translate into pre-game exercises where everybody listens to their music, everybody does what they need to do to get to a game ready mindset. But what we do fail to realize is sometimes you just have to get present in the moment, cut off all distractions, just get present in the moment before you get into your ritual, before you get into like trying to think the game, or see the game, or ramp yourself up for a good game. So I'm trying to get them to understand that you have to stay present and calm in the moment.
That is so significant. And it's spoken like a former athlete, understanding the significance, even at the free throw line or in a crunch time of a game at an at bat or a serve, to calm yourself down. And I like what you said about being present in the moment and relaxing your body so that you can accomplish the goals that you have that are facing you.
Absolutely.
That's pretty deep there, Ashley. That's you gave me something there. I'm gonna have to put on something because that's pretty good.
Hey, I love to hear it.
I like that. Be present in the moment. I got it written down on my notepad right here. As part of your conditioning, do you ever do aerobic conditioning?
Yeah and no. I mean, it's basic, like just running is aerobic. So we do a lot of running. This year we did a lot of conditioning for the mind, especially women's basketball. They had some really, really tough days, men as well. But women had a day where we just pushed to see if they were really, really mentally tough.
Mm.
And to me, those days are just as important as going and running, and having basic stamina.
As a coach and as a player, we seek to find those student athletes that are mentally tough because you're going to be faced with crisis in game situations constantly. And if your student athletes aren't mentally tough, more often than not, they're not going to be able to perform in those situations if they're not mentally tough. And
Correct.
I'll go back to what you were saying about aerobics. And I asked you about aerobics because it was one time it was a large woman workout. Most of the women were doing it. And man, we tried to do that. We thought it was so easy. We tried to do that step aerobics and some of
Yeah.
that. Man, we like to kill ourselves in there trying to do that. We had a whole different level of respect for people doing that type of aerobics because of the conditioning they had to be in. They mentally had to be locked in.
Yeah.
And man, those guys were falling all over the stairs and losing their balance and about
Yeah.
to die by being dehydrated going through it. So that was why I asked, because I know that you kind of stay on the cutting edge of things, that you're doing.
I mean, and I incorporate things that's going to challenge your bodies. Volleyball did a little bit. It wasn't really step aerobics. It was more of let's see how fast you can move your feet around these steps. So they had to do taps around a step in a circle, and it just challenged them to see how quick they can actually tap the step, get back to the ground, tap the step. So in a sense, but like you said, it's a lot of people don't understand that just yoga, aerobics, even Pilates. So I introduced a lot of Pilates this year.
I didn't understand.
Pilates is hard. It's
Yeah.
it's hard. It's not easy. It's very challenging. So, and it makes me laugh because when I introduced the workouts, most times I gave men 2 Pilates workouts this year, and they thought it was just going to be something simple. And I tell them, man, if y'all ever go to a class, them old ladies gonna get you. Yeah, you'll be shamed, like
Mhm.
because it's about moving your body through a full range of motion. And as athletes, we don't understand how important it is. We've been taught and conditioned for a while now that squatting should be a certain way, this and this should be a certain way. But I've learned over the years and from weight training from a freshman in high school that we limit in strength training, we limit a lot of mobility, with the standard strength training that I've done and I've seen over the years. If you're not really teaching a kid to use their full range of motion through every joint or every segment of their body, it increases chances of injury, of course. And it shows like when you actually introduce it, you'll be like, oh wow, that student athlete be like, oh wow, I really can't do this, or I can't get back up, or it's no way I can't do this. Even simple as like lifting or flexing their ankles. I have some athletes that can't even stand on their heels and lift their toes. And like I tell them, now that we're aware of it, now we have to work on it,
Wow. I'm just impressed with your level of growth in a year. I'm just sitting here spellbound, Ashley, with your growth. And tell us a little bit how you ended up in this area.
Wow. I think it was just destiny, I finished 2020, I believe, was my last playing year. And then I was fortunate enough to be a grad assistant under Coach Ravonda Whitley on the women's side. It was a challenging season that year. Then the following year, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And Coach Ricky Jackson, he was a men's basketball coach. He let me get on his staff. So I was excited as well because that was, I learned both sides of basketball.
Okay.
I always tell people, men's basketball and women's basketball is different when you actually have to coach it. A lot of people say it's still the same, but for my experience, men's basketball is way faster. So it's way faster and it's way more poised. It seems like it's more of player control than coaching control from my experience, So I learned a lot. And basketball is one thing I really enjoy and love. The year I was coaching on the men's staff, I was actually a strength and conditioning coach as well. I always had a passion for it. I've been lifting weights since my freshman year in high school, and I had weightlifting all 4 years in high school. So when I was in the weight room, I always was determined to get bigger and stronger. And just work hard at everything I do. So when I took a step away from basketball, this is my calling. Like it just flows with everything in life. I get to have more freedom and more range to work on other things, but I still get to be around the sports I love.
That's a good answer. And you made a very valid point in terms of coaching men and coaching women. Having coached them both at Division I level myself, that was a question that was always asked to me about if it was the same, if it was different. And yes, it was a lot of difference in coaching them. And one of the biggest differences was that the guys, not that the girls didn't, but the guys had this love for the game. And if you were doing something in practice and you were like, you're not doing this right, we're in practice. No, coach, don't end practice. Don't end practice. Don't put us out. Don't put us out. Because if you put them out, they were going to the rec center across the street and take over the facility for 2 hours. But if you told the girls team they didn't get it right, you were going to put them out, man, they'd be out the gym before you turned around. They'd be gone.
Yeah.
That was
that's very true. I believe it. Men's, it's just the intensity level, the competitiveness is like different, even though I played with guys growing up, so I had that edge of competitiveness, but it's really different. And women they're gonna get in their feelings, man. Let's just be real.
Well, see, you could also tell the young ladies who grew up playing against guys.
Yeah,
they had that little tough edge about them. I mean, their whole game was different, because they grew up in the park playing with guys or playing against their big brothers,
Absolutely.
And your big brother wasn't going to take it easy on his little sister. He was going to always
Not at all.
Well, another thing I want to ask you about: do you oversee the stretching that they do for your sports, or do you teach them a regiment to use um, as a part? And I know it took us a while at the collegiate level to really embrace stretching at first. But when I went to an NBA camp with Rick Pitino with the Knicks, I mean, those guys stretched 30, 45 minutes before and after each contest. Before each practice, they were adamant about the amount of time that they put in stretching. And a long time coming along, guys didn't stretch. You just kind of
Yeah,
went through layups until you got loose and then you start dunking. But
absolutely. And that goes back to my point of like range of motion. We were so accustomed to doing that. Like I know guys that used to just walk in the gym, hop on the court, like, and they give you 30. But it's
mhm.
just like understanding that you need the full range of motion. So what we do here is dynamic stretching before competition, before weight training, things like that. So they go through a regimen of dynamic stretching, meaning it's actual mobility. You're doing first. You start off with jogging, and then you do things that's going to challenge your balance. You do things that's going to make you move and extend that range of motion in a joint. Then after workouts, weight training, practice, and things like that, they go into static stretching. So that's more of like just sitting down, just stretching. Dynamic is more like a mobility type stretch, and then static stretching is just like sitting down, taking those deep breaths, releasing tension in your hamstring, whatever muscle joint is tight, you just sit down and do. So, far as static stretching, I don't have a regiment for them. I tell them all the time, do it based off what's tight, because I don't need you to overstretch. If your hamstrings are good, then it's no point of you sitting there stretching your hamstrings for 45 to 50 seconds. But I have a couple players who can't even touch their toes or can't hold their legs up 90 degrees because their hamstrings are so tight. So I emphasize that they have to stretch way more in those areas. From the wake up early in the morning, they need to wake up and start stretching, get a little mobility. If you got to do a little jumping jacks, whatever. But those hamstrings, we have to loosen up those major muscle groups that are extremely tight and that can cause injuries in other joints or areas in your body.
Okay, okay. Let me ask a question to make sure I understand a little bit delineation of responsibilities. You do a lot of the rehab treatments for the student athletes, or is there somebody else that does that?
No, so we have trainers for that. But I study a lot. So I've been like, they come to me and say, oh, this is wrong. And just based off basic knowledge and things like that, I can tell, okay, well, go to the trainer and say, you think, if they don't know or don't give you an answer right away, then say, can it be, say, a posterior pelvis tilt or anterior pelvis tilt, which will cause your lower back to have severe pains during touching your toes, during lifting, things like that. So I'm not actually there to. They come to me after they get diagnosed and after rehab. So I'm on the back end of helping with rehab.
Okay, but the two of you work hand in hand.
Correct. Hmm.
Okay, well, that's kind of typical of everything at Claflin. Everybody collaborates with each other,
Absolutely.
you know, and we always talk about that. Now, is your volleyball training a lot different from what you do with your basketball?
In some areas, but for the most part, nah, not really, because both sports need vertical jumps. Both sports need to be able to sit down low in a squat position. Their swing and shoulder exercise is a little bit different from basketball simply because they swing with more force. And their range of motion and their movement through a swing is way different from shooting a basketball. But it's small little adjustments that I make for between basketball and volleyball. But far as lower body, I pretty much keep them on a similar regimen, simply because I'm trying to increase everybody's vert. I want our volleyball players to be able to jump over the net. I want our men's. I even want some of our women basketball to be up there to touch the rim. So that's the that's the common goal with building athleticism in lower body between them in men's basketball, women's basketball, and volleyball, even softball. There's more power based, but we do a lot of hips. We do a lot of lower body strength training for them because power based, their whole sport is power based. So the workouts are it has a structure to it with small tweaks to help. But two, I base it off our athletes. So if I have majority of my athletes, hips are probably tight, you know. So I do a lot of hits between each team's hips. I do a lot of shoulder with softball and volleyball, and basketball is pretty much full body.
Wow. This is actually so enlightening. One of the things that I just made a decision on a few minutes ago is that I want to have you back later in the year and talk some more about some of the sports that we didn't really mention, but I want to be able to talk about that. But as a former student athlete, homecoming coming, tell us a little bit about how that affects you both professionally and as one of the people that homecoming is for. You know, it's always difficult. Homecoming is, you know, you try to explain to people, you know, I'm an alum too, so it's my homecoming as well.
Right.
So how do you handle it, and what do you do with all the responsibilities you have? And then a lot of your classmates and friends and teammates are coming as well.
So last year was my first year being able to really experience homecoming, and I enjoyed myself to the fullest.
She's
Prior
okay.
years, of course, prior years, of course, I played and I was coaching, so it was a different experience. But last year, being able to just work the first half of the women's game and then actually just watch basketball, it was very like fulfilling. I was very grateful. And this year, I have the same mindset. Of course, like you always say here at Claflin, we work together. So here in the athletic department, we work and make sure everything is running smoothly during homecoming. So we have shifts that we work. Then after that, I watch the games and then just enjoy the tailgate, catching up with everybody. It's always good seeing people doing good, leaving their stomping grounds and just exploring life and doing way better. So to me, it's just a, a situation that's just filled with love and gratitude, and I'm just grateful, you know, to be able to say I'm still here home making a difference and seeing everybody come back and still loving Claflin University. You know, of course, you always want to see your teams win a homecoming. That just
Mhm.
it just boosts up the energy, it boosts up the whole experience. So I'm very, very excited to see both teams play this year. They've been working really, really hard, and they deserve it. They deserve just to have fun, have an arena full of people, and putting on a show.
You said tailgate. Where is the tailgate area at Claflin?
So y'all know Claflin's small. We
Mhm.
small and intimate, so it's right here on the outside of the gym. And I feel like that's what makes Claflin special. You know, it's just small, and you got the family vibes going on. You know, it's not too much going on. Everybody just enjoying themselves. Like tailgating's right there on the backside of the gym. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience.
Don't tell me people roll up in their RVs and things.
Last year we had people on horses.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think it was like two, maybe three RVs out there. But last year, two young men rolled up on horses, which I think was pretty cool. And they were beautiful. They were stallions. Like they were,
Wow.
so that turned heads.
I'm sure it did. It got my attention. It got my attention for sure. Ashley, you are just so informative. You do so well on your interviews. I really appreciate having this opportunity to talk to you about Claflin and the different things that you're responsible for and your legacy that you are growing there. I look forward to the next time we have a chance to talk because there's still so much that you have. There's so much knowledge that you have that we want to let other people know about. That's within Ashley Fields.
Appreciate you. Thank you always for the opportunity, man. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I appreciate it. And tell your family hello because I know you're gonna show it to them and share it with them.
Absolutely.
You know, We appreciate you being on, Ashley. We wish you good luck with homecoming, and we look forward to the next time we get a chance to talk.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Like us on Facebook.
I liked it on Facebook.
Follow us on Twitter. INSiiGHTS.
Yeah.
2 I's in the middle. INSiiGHTS.
All right, y'all.
Stay up to date with the latest from INSiiGHTS. Visit our website at INSiiGHTS.com. 2 I's in the middle. INSiiGHTS.
INSiiGHTS is the copyright of Mac4 Enterprises, a Florida corporation. This broadcast is produced under the exclusive ownership of Mac4 Enterprises and is the intellectual property and trademark of Mac4 Enterprises. Comments of the host and other individual speakers on INSiiGHTS represent the independent thoughts and representation.